The Legislature Today is on the air from our flagship affiliate, the voice of the Northern Plains, 550 Cape Fire, and affiliates Talk Radio AM 1100 The Flag Fargo and Talk Radio 1090 The Flag in the Bakken. We're broadcasting live from the historic Peacock Alley American Grill and Bar in downtown Bismarck, the National Cattlemen's Association Beef Innovator of the Year. You're about to find out what's happening in the North Dakota legislative session. Your host of the Legislature Today is Dale Wetzel, managing editor of Great Plains News and the Great Plains Examiner. If you have questions or comments or to watch the show, go to GreatPlainsNews.com. GreatPlainsNews.com. The Legislature Today is brought to you by the North Dakota Association of Oil and Gas Producing Counties, the Credit Union Association of the Dakotas, the University of Mary, the North Dakota Corn, Soybean and Grain Growers Association, and the North Dakota Ethanol Council, the Northwest Landowners Association, Touchstone Energy Cooperative, North Dakota Rural Electric Cooperatives Association, and members Minnesota Power and Great River Energy. The North Dakota chapter of Considering Women for America, the Expressway Inn and Suites, where a good night's rest costs less, and the Peacock Alley. It's time to get started. Another hour of the Legislature Today is on the air.
This is Dale Wetzel. This is the Legislature Today radio program. We're coming to you from the Peacock Alley American Bar and Grill in downtown Bismarck, North Dakota, and it looks like a full bar this evening. I'm here with my co-host, Gary Ameneth, and a couple of state senators whom we're going to be talking about the Fargo flood diversion project. We have Senator Larry Lueck, who is a Republican from Fairmont. He represents a district in southeastern North Dakota that includes the city of Wahpeton, part of southern Cass County, and part of the rural southern southeastern corner. And we also have with us Senator Ron Sorvag, who is a Republican from Fargo, and he represents a district in Fargo that's affected by the diversion project, and we're going to be speaking to them in a moment. First of all, Gary, I see you have a glass of beer there. Is it good?
It is good. It's a Sam Adams Pale Ale. No, Summer Ale.
Okay, Summer Ale?
I had some wings earlier. They have wings here. It's wing night, you know.
Yes.
And I just had the salt and vinegar. So you can come down for $5, get 10 wings, which they're really good. And they have right wings, left wings. Naked wings are the conservative right wings, and the breaded ones are the left wings, as you know. But
this is Gary Ameneth. He's a former chairman of the State Republican Party, and he likes the right wing chicken wings.
They're naked chicken wings. But what happened is they have hot wings, and Curly Hugland ordered the spicy ones. They were so hot, they burned both their mouths out. We sent them back after eating. He gave me one, and I decided I'm not eating anymore. So you got to be a tough guy to eat those. We must not be tough enough.
It takes a tough man to eat a hot wing, huh?
These hot wings you do.
Okay.
Anyway, they're great wings.
Curly Hugland, by the way, is a Bismarck political gadfly who also happens to be the Republican National Committeeman for North Dakota. Before we get to our subject on the Fargo flood diversion project, I thought we'd speak a bit about what happened in the legislature today. We're down to having one constitutional amendment left that's undecided. There are 4 constitutional amendments on the November 2014 ballot and one on the June 2014 ballot. There was a remark made yesterday by the Democratic Senate leader, Max Schneider, that the measures ballot on the next election is going to look like the Dead Sea Scrolls. I guess I wouldn't go that far, but it's true that there's a good helping of measures on the ballot next year. First of all, the one that lost today would have established a sort of pension rescue fund in case the existing state pension fund runs out of money because of poor investment results. There was an attempt to establish a pension backstop fund, was called a pension stabilization fund, as part of the North Dakota Constitution, which would have been financed by a portion of the oil tax revenues that the state gets. That idea was defeated. As far as what we have had approved in the legislature, as far as constitutional amendments, we have in June 2014, we will have Measure 1, which will change the filing deadline, if it's approved by the voters, I should say. This would change the filing deadline for submitting initiative petitions from 90 days before the election to 120 days before the election. The reason for that is that It would give more time for court challenges of initiative petitions. It also would have the function of shutting out people who wanted to gather last-minute signatures from using the North Dakota State Fair to do that. In November 2014, there's a lineup of 4 measures. One of them was supported by people who dislike abortion, who are opposed to abortion. It says that the inalienable right to life of every human being in any stage of development must be recognized and protected. That's the wording of the amendment, and we'll see, I imagine, during the debate next year as to what the ramifications of that might be. Measure 2 would be a ban on mortgage or real estate transfer taxes. Measure 3 would replace the Board of Higher Education with a 3-member Higher Education Commission, and it would also replace the chancellor of the state university system. You'd have a 3-member commission appointed by the governor that would take an active role in managing North Dakota's system of 11 public colleges. And then we have Measure 4, which says that any initiated laws that are proposed by the people and put on the ballot, if they were to have a significant impact on the state budget, they must be decided in the November general election. As far as other issues today, there was a rather unusual thing that happened. The North Dakota House twice defeated the budget bill for an anti-tobacco agency. I was a bit baffled by this when it happened. I went to the House Majority Leader, Al Carlson of Fargo, or he's a Republican, and said, what is going on, because this agency is not going to be able to function after July 1st without a budget. And Representative Carlson said that there was no intent to starve this agency of funds, that this budget is going to be brought up again tomorrow, and everything will be copacetic. The reason that there was some question about this is because this agency was started in 2008 by an initiated measure. It requires some of the money from a tobacco lawsuit settlement that the state entered into a number of years ago to be used for tobacco cessation projects. And this, the measure and the agency that resulted from it has never been a favorite of a number of legislators, and so I was somewhat interested in whether or not they were trying to kill it off, but Representative Carlson, the majority leader, said that that is not the intent, and basically that the fact that the budget was defeated was more or less a screw-up that's going to be rectified. And then there's new DUI legislation that's going to take effect in August. The big highlights of it is that if you are a drunken driver who has a 0.16% blood alcohol level, you are looking at least 2 days in jail and a $750 fine. Right now, a first-time offender is fined $250. That's basically it. He doesn't have to spend any time in jail. This time, you would have either 2 days in jail or 20 hours community service if you have a blood alcohol content of 0.16% or greater. Also, there are 2 new felony crimes that would come into play if you are a drunken driver who runs into someone and seriously injures or kills them. If a drunken driver kills someone, that person would be looking at least a 3-year prison sentence. If that drunken driver injures someone severely, that person would be looking at least 1 year in prison. Now we'll segue awkwardly from DUI and prison sentences to the Fargo Flood Diversion Project. We have with us Senator Larry Lueck. He's a Republican from Fairmont, and Senator Ron Sorvag, who is a Republican from Fargo. Welcome, gentlemen.
Great to be here, Dale.
And first of all, Senator Lueck, describe your district and why is it that you're interested in the diversion project as a result of that?
District 25 runs from the South Dakota border all the way up to 6 miles into Cass County, which encompasses 2 townships within the lower end or the southern end of Cass County. It used to be, before the redistricting took place, it just was the northern end of Richland County, but redistricting took me into actually Cass County. So now the diversion, which is in that very same area, basically is very close to the line of my district area. So all of the impact from the diversion that is on the south side of that is my district.
And Senator Sorvag, could you describe your district for us, please?
Yeah, my district, I'm from Fargo, so it's called the Fargo district, but actually I encompass quite a bit of an area beyond Fargo. I have parts of the city of West Fargo. I go up Harwood, North Dakota, Argusville. I actually end up 20 miles north of Fargo into Cass County. Got 5 rural townships and quite a few subdivisions. So, and with the north 30% of the diversion is in my district and does go through a lot of the farmland and stuff. So I'm connected in a little different way than some of the districts that are just Fargo.
And Senator Sorvag, could you tell us a bit about how the legislature is trying to help construction of the diversion?
Well, what the commitment that's been asked for from the beginning is that the legislature would pick up half of the local share for North Dakota side, which is 400 and some million right now, which is connected or is with the present dollars. But that's the effort, and that's been the effort from the Fargo, Cass County end, was to get the state to cover that share.
Go ahead. And as far as how would the diversion affect property owners in your district? Would it take some of their land? Would it enhance their flood protection? What would the effects be?
There's quite a bit of it that enhance, especially it will enhance that north end of Fargo, but also quite a few of the rural subdivisions I have in there that are right north of West Fargo and stuff. They've been having a very difficult time with the last flooding because it's coming more off the Cheyenne, but it's all connected up in that area. The Cheyenne's heading back to where it merges in the Red, so it'll help them substantially. But it does hurt some of the farmers. It's taking a substantial amount of farmland away. And so there is a sacrifice. And one of the concerns that those farmers have up there, and I used to farm up there. I farmed till 12 years ago in that area, is that there's adequate drainage and stuff for summer, and that there's, even though it's a ditch, there's going to be big berms on it. So it's also going to serve the purpose of blocking water getting into it. And so that's an area that you don't hear much about, but there's quite a concern that we don't aggravate any drainage problems and everything's done adequately.
Could you give us kind of a short description of what the diversion is? What will the diversion look like?
It's changed a little, but as I understand it now, it's going to be about 150 to 250 feet wide in the very bottom. You know, I think it varies a little, but probably 250 wide down in the deep, what you'd call the ditch bottom. And then it'll come up, it'll have angle sides, and then it'll be berms. And I think the last I heard, they were looking at it about a third of a mile wide from outside one side of the berm to the other. And one side of the berm, the west side, will be lower than the east side, so if it would ever overflow, it would dump away from the city. So it's kind of a huge ditch, and it's not very deep. And that's because of the geography of the Red River Valley. We're a lake bottom. We're very flat. It doesn't drop, so they can't get a lot of volume of water by just keep going deeper. Pretty well has to go wider. But initially the diversion was going to be wider. And I know recent plans have narrowed it, and they're pushing more through Fargo than the initial plan.
Senator Lewick, how does this project affect property owners on the north edge of your district?
On the north end of the district, there's many homes that are going to be basically displaced, homeowners, businesses, farm sites. If the potential of getting the berm around Oxbow, Hickson, and the Bakke addition goes through, that's going to provide some protection for that community. But the ramifications are going to go quite a ways further south than just that area or that community. By it flooding out is what it is, or where the staging area is encompassing, you're going to have concerns of crop loss, whether it's a 1 in 10 year event or whether it's every single year, or there's really no way that we can judge as to how often the events may take place. The farmland, I believe, is going to be, it isn't going to do a tremendous amount of damage to the farmland per se, but it's going to be the effects of what it will do, holding that water there. So,
does this cause water to be? Does this cause permanent standing water in any place?
During the events?
Yes.
Yes, of course it will.
Yeah, I guess, but it's not going to be there year-round, is it?
No, no. The plan is not there. From what I've been told, is that it is planned initially so that the water is going to be evacuated off the land anywhere from 5 to 15 days. Now, I've been also told that it should be only 9 days max. But I may be liberal on the amount of time that it's going to take to get off of there. But
do you think that the diversion is the best method for flood protection for Fargo?
No, I don't. I believe that there are better ways to do this. I believe that the diversion part of it should stay in, probably needs to happen, but the retention area, or I shouldn't call it that, but the dammed up area, the holding staging area on the southern side, I believe could be changed, and we wouldn't need that.
How would you change it?
If I had my way, I would more seriously look at retention areas. There have been a couple that have been identified so far. If we can modify what UND campus came up with a waffle program, modify that program, and then also look at more serious tiling in the agricultural areas and manage that water more closely. And I do not believe we need to have that staging area or that dam, and we can get by with a smaller diversion going around the west side.
And what are you trying to do to promote this point of view?
Stall off and try and get the State Water Commission to push retention areas and get more serious interest in doing that. I've been kind of shot down several times about these retention areas. I've been after the Corps of Engineers to try and get them to do more of a study on that. But again, it comes back to our district or myself or the Upstream Coalition are not the sponsors of the project, so we don't have much of a leverage point to get the Corps to look into and study that possibility.
Senator Sorvag, do you believe that the diversion is the best option?
It's the best option that I've heard of now. And part of it is quite a few years ago after the 97 floods that hurt Grand Forks so and we saved Fargo but had issues, and Fargo worked on what they call the Southside Protection Plan. And that looked like a good plan, but for whatever reason it didn't happen. There was a lot, it took a lot more diking in town, but that wouldn't have been adequate for the 09 flood. And the only other equation that really has changed it is the flood insurance equation. FEMA has changed the 100-year floodplain in that area. And the diversion is the only permanent solution that I've heard of now that would really address that issue so these people would not have to buy flood insurance. Because flood insurance right now is, if you've been buying it, you're grandfathered in at a few $100s, or it's a couple thousand a year. But there's a lot of talk that they might go to actuarial tables and make it like real insurance, which could be $300, $400, $500 a month. And if that's true, and that happens, then the diversion really is the only one that can protect that whole large footprint of Fargo. And in my case, it does protect quite a bit of the other areas of my district that aren't necessarily in the city proper of Fargo. But is there something better? Not that I've seen.
Is this, for want of a better term, well, let me just back up a moment. There was quite a bit of discussion recently in the Senate about an amendment that requires a federal commitment to the diversion before any state funds are spent on property acquisition or home buyouts and that kind of thing, the diversion project itself. And could you just describe what that did to the prospects of the diversion project?
Well, there was a couple different amendments, and one of them was Senator Lewick's. And some of the question with the wording there is that it had to be fully funded. The concern is that the federal government is not going to come forward with the money. And there's a lot of them, in the Senate and I think in the legislature that doesn't want to start spending state money on it unless we're sure the federal are going to come through. So the attempt was, and Senator Louie can describe it better, but I think we all know, was to get the federal to commit something. And it's an argument that keeps going on, authorizing it, or there's multiple steps. Which one really commits? And that's the debate, the federal government to it. There's been some wording. We both sat in on the conference committee on 1020. They're still working on some of that wording. We changed it to get the idea we want a commitment from the federal government, but not necessarily wait for the full funding, because we're presuming they will fund it over a period of time, just like the state's going to fund it over the period of time. They're not going to hand the community a $400 million check. It's going to be over multiple bienniums.
Senator Sorvag referred to 1020. He was referring to House Bill 1020, which is the budget bill for the State Water Commission and has money for a number of water projects, including the Fargo water projects. Senator Lewick, could you just explain what the purpose of your amendment was in terms of trying to ensure some sort of federal commitment to the diversion project?
Well, first of all, the amendment language was probably skewed a little bit. It probably was misinterpreted. The intent of that language was not that the full funded amount was on the cash on the barrelhead up front. What we were after with that was that commitment of that fully funded amount was going to be there, but not necessarily from day one. We knew as well as anybody that those projects are funded in installments throughout the project. So that was just a miscue in the language of, but the intent was not to have it all up front. And after session that day, we discussed it with others, and that it came out wrong, which is okay, because later on it is in the language now that with the amendments that the commitments are there. Once the commitments are there, we can fund it up to $450 million from state matching funds. And now these are as of the amendments are as of today, but they still are not voted on. They're basically being drafted, and tomorrow they should go into the bill. So hopefully that'll work out well.
We've been speaking to Senator Larry Lewick. He's a Republican from Fairmont. He represents a district in southeastern North Dakota that includes part of southern Cass County. And we have also been speaking to Senator Ron Sorvag, who represents a Fargo district that includes part of North Fargo, rural North Fargo. Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the Greater North Dakota Chamber of Commerce talking about the legislative session.